Well, that breaking news this morning, 2 people are in the hospital after a single car crash. Omaha police say it happened just before 3:30 this morning near 85th and Dodge. An Omaha police officer says the car was westbound in the eastbound lanes of Dodge before crossing over the median, then spinning out. The driver suffered minor injuries, but the passenger's injuries were more serious. It's unknown if they are life-threatening. Of course, we will keep you updated.
All right, in the meantime, it's good to have you with us as we get started on this Wednesday morning. Thank you for joining us for our First Alert 6 streaming. I'm Erin Hartley.
Halfway through the week, I'm Cerise Cole, along with meteorologist Jared Lansford, senior chief meteorologist Rusty Lord, who can't stop talking about our beautiful sunrise. No, it is. It's gorgeous. We gotta show the people.
Yes, it looks phenomenal out there. So you got that to start. I mean, you get a positive note here as we get rolling on a Wednesday morning. So let me show you what it looks like here. You got the little valley fog, the sun. A light kind of shining off of that, and hopefully it's not causing too much sun glare on your way into work, but that's what it looks like out across the city, and we haven't seen widespread fog in the metro. Jarrett's going to be showing you where that is here shortly, but 69 degrees, that's where we're at the moment. Dew point there as well, so 100% relative humidity, and the air's pretty humid. Right around 70 for most of us in the metro, upper 60s, lower 70s. That's the story right now. And you get outside the city, a little cooler in west central Iowa. That's probably going to be the case over the next several days. That muggy meter right there on the edge of muggy and steamy, that's probably where we hang out all day today. Some subtle fluctuations, but overall, it does look like another muggy summer day with that heat index jumping up, upper 90s. That's about where it ended up yesterday with our high in the lower 90s. I think the hottest heat index we had was about 98 degrees, so probably something very similar today. Any fog that's out there should really be burning off during that 9 o'clock hour at the latest. Then by noon, we're up into the 80s. By 3, we're talking right around 90 degrees, and I think we can get to about 91 or so for that afternoon high. But notice these little clouds bubbling up here. They look harmless, but I think there could be an isolated thunder shower in those late this afternoon and early this evening. It'll probably go northeast to southwest. May look a little unorthodox on the radar here, but those would drift through, and there could be a downpour in there, maybe a little bit of lightning. Not expecting anything severe, but don't be caught off guard by 1 or 2 of those. And then as we go deeper into the evening hours, we're talking about 70s. Overnight tonight looks pretty quiet. We'll settle back into the 60s as we start off the day tomorrow morning, so a little bit cooler there. But we'll jump right back up. 91 on Thursday, 93 on Friday. Got some thunderstorm potential, though, heading into Friday. A lot of heat and humidity in that forecast here for the rest of the week, getting us closer to that weekend.
Okay, but as we get closer to the weekend, it's going to be a pretty nice weekend as well.
Yeah, that's the way it's looking, with a big drop in the dew points and the temperatures, mostly caused by this round of thunderstorm that's going to move on through after 3 o'clock or so Friday evening. Behind that is when the really nice weather rolls in. So if we can get through this without any big issues, that'd be great news, and it's smooth sailing for the weekend. So 1 out of 5 on the scale, not a big deal, but it does cover our entire viewing area. North to south is the direction of the storm movement if they fire up in your area. Isolated wind gusts and hail would be the threat here. So could have a couple of gusts up over 60 miles per hour, maybe a few hailstones as well that are near an inch or larger. Right now, it doesn't look like much of a tornado risk with that. And you can see beyond that, though, look at this. Saturday's probably the transition day where the humidity drops off during the day, and then we're in the middle of the good stuff Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, with temperatures dropping into the 50s each and every morning and trying to rebound after that as well, plus the Husker game showing up on the 10-day as well. So we still got a lot to cover. I'm going to elaborate more on that cool down here coming up in just a little bit, and we'll throw in that early look at the Husker forecast if you're heading down to Kansas City here.
I love seeing that little red N on the forecast.
My weekends are consumed.
Almost there. Oh, so close. All right, we got to talk about traffic. Fog out there again today. Not as bad as yesterday, though.
Yeah, thankfully, we aren't looking at it as quite as widespread. Yesterday, it's like a gray sheet on the cameras. But we do have some areas that have that kind of visibility. So let's take a look at where we're seeing some of that fog being the worst. And it's not terrible on this view. It's definitely present, though, as you're crossing over over the Mormon Bridge around 680. I'm showing you this one. You can kind of see in the distance, it's a little bit thicker, a little harder to see as you get across the river there into some of those lower lying valleys. And that kind of lines up with where we have some of the worst of the fog. So when you're looking at the metro, not terrible. You do have some areas where it's present. You get a little further to the west though. Fremont, Wahoo, you're looking at that visibility start to drop off pretty quickly as you get into some of those areas. So anywhere you start seeing that number at a 1 or lower is where you're getting some of that dense fog that makes it really hard to see out there. Near zero visibility, Shenandoah, Clarinda, you've had that for much of the morning in Denison. And as you make your way towards some of those places we just mentioned and toward the Highway 81 corridor, that's where you have the biggest issue. So anywhere where you have some of that fog, use a little extra caution. Be prepared for that to be something that you have to contend with for the morning. I don't expect it to last too deep into the morning, maybe another hour or two where we have this kind of visibility, and then things should start to improve from there. We're starting to pick up the amount of traffic on the roadways. Thankfully, we've gotten rid of some of our big issues that we had this morning. We mentioned that crash that was in place on Dodge. That is cleared, so no hazard there as you're making your way past 84th westbound on Dodge. Just some busy traffic on Dodge at this point. You can see some of the yellows and oranges showing up as you're going through some of those busy intersections at 72nd and at 90th. So hopefully we've gotten it out of our system. We're looking at things pretty smooth as we go through the rest of the commute. But if they're not, we'll let you know.
Okay, Jared, thank you. In the meantime, new this morning, Omaha police need your help tracking down a wanted man. Brian Mejia Gutierrez is wanted for strangulation, domestic assault, terroristic threats, among other charges as well. If you have any information about where he might be, you're urged to contact Omaha Crime Stoppers at the number there on your screen.
It's been a process going on a long time, and as this process evolves, said, hey, we're here. We are here to play our role and make a difference.
Nebraska will soon have a detention center for one-use immigration enforcement. The Department of Homeland Security plans to turn the Nebraska Corrections Center in McCook into what they are calling the Cornhusker Clink.
McCook is about 4.5 hours southwest of Omaha. Governor Jim Pillen's office says an agreement was made with DHS to use the existing minimum security prison work camp. DHS says it'll have about 280 beds.
Well, you can find all of our previous coverage on how the Trump administration's immigration policy has played out in Nebraska on our website. It's firstalert6.com. This includes interviews with family members of people detained in the Glen Valley Foods raid in Omaha, Tuesday's interview with Governor Jim Pillen, and more reaction on the McCook ICE Detention Center. Well, last week's FBI operation at several Omaha hotels is leaving many scrambling to find new places to live.
The Roadway Inn is now closed, and the remaining residents have about 10 days to move out. The All Four Seasons Foundation is trying to help those displaced. The founder says it'll take not only time, but the community coming together.
And that's what it takes is all these different organizations stepping up and trying to help. Unfortunately, there's some that are going to be harder than others. But anytime we can get someone from going on the street or get them off the street, it's definitely a victory.
The founder says he plans to be at the Roadway Inn again tomorrow. He adds other organizations are helping displaced residents at other hotels that were a part of that operation.
All right, thank you. Well, the safety desk here with Maria Kate, and the FDA has a warning this morning not to eat certain shrimp sold at Walmart because it could be, are we hearing this right? Could be radioactive?
Yes, there are 3 different lots of the Great Value brand raw frozen shrimp that are going to be a part of this recall, and they have a best by date of March 15th, 2027.
Okay.
So this all started when U.S. Customs and Border Protection alerted the FDA that C-137 was found in shipping containers at 4 U.S. ports. Now, if you're exposed to this multiple times, it can bring up your risk of getting cancer. So the FDA is stressing that no shrimp in that supply has tested positive, but it was on the shrimp. So, it was on the ship. So it could potentially have been exposed. So if you do have it, you want to throw that out.
Oh, for sure. All right. Thanks for alerting us to that, Maria. And we'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. Time now 7:13. Taking a bird's eye view overlooking the Woodman Life Tower on your screen. We've been really talking this morning about this gorgeous sunrise that's overlooking the metro. And not too bad of a forecast for dropping off the kiddos at school, or a school bus is picking them up as well.
Yeah, the main thing is just the humidity this morning. You got a little fog out there, and if you don't have fog, it's just very, very muggy. So we're right around 70. Temperature's not bad. So 70 to 73 by 7, 8 o'clock, up to 77 by 9. It will warm up quickly with the sunshine today, and we'll get back up to about where we were yesterday. There's the muggy meter right on the edge of muggy and steamy. That'll probably hang there most of the day too. Had widespread fog on this camera at certain times yesterday morning here at 144th and Dodge. That is not the case this morning. We're up into the low 90s for an afternoon high today. Small chance of a thunderstorm this afternoon into the early evening, about a 20% chance. Most of us will stay dry. I'm not all that worried about it, but heads up for that this evening, and it's not an overnight thing. Once the sun sets, there goes the energy we need for those, and they are gone. Then 91 Thursday, 93 on Friday, and some storm potential to watch. Now, I think most storms will hold off until after 3 o'clock. This model probably a little too early, but I like the way it shows it. And you can see they'll drop in from the north, maybe a little bit northwest, and move through during the afternoon and early evening. Hopefully it's a one and done. I don't foresee a long-lived threat deep into the evening on Friday or into the overnight hours, so that's good. Whenever that one cluster would try to move through the area, that would probably be it for the vast majority of the area. So short-lived little bout there as it tries to move on through. But we have to watch it because there's some energy to work with, obviously getting up near 93, and a 1 out of 5 on the scale for the severe weather potential out of that round. So it's hot and humid leading up to it. You got storm potential. Again, minimal risk of severe weather, but if it was 0, we wouldn't talk about it. Wind and hail is what we'll watch for. Tornado risk pretty low as of now. We'll see if that changes up over the course of the next couple of days. And then notice this dip on the muggy meter. That is the good stuff right there. Saturday's probably the transition day when it starts humid, and then by the end of the day, we take a lot of that out of the air, and we'll go to 82 for the high. Notice that morning low of 56 there, and then up to 80 on Sunday. So pay attention to the Friday evening storms, and just know beyond it, some very, very good weather for this upcoming weekend.
Ooh, I'm liking what I'm seeing. 82, 80. How long does those nice cooler temperatures last?
It looks to be about a 3 or 4 day thing. So even into the early part of next week, look at where we're at. Down in the 50s for morning lows. And Monday and Tuesday morning will need to be watched. There could be some 40s on the map in some spots, especially on the Iowa side, I think. Upper 70s for highs Monday and Tuesday. Rebounding a little bit as we head towards next week. We put the N on the forecast, but that game's in Arrowhead. An early look at that forecast if you are heading down to Arrowhead. And you can see what it looks like here. 84 around kickoff. That's after a high near 90 during the game, remember, or during the day. Remember, it's an 8 o'clock kick, so that's not a bad thing, because late in the evening, it'll be cooling off, and there is a storm chance towards the end of the game we'll keep an eye on. But again, we're still talking 7, 8 days away. We'll see how that changes over the course of the week.
Okay. In the meantime, we'll switch over back to traffic. Jared's kind of giving us a tour of lots of different spots across the metro.
Yeah, come along. Let's go on a journey.
Oh,
yay!
Should we pack a lunch?
If you'd like. Maybe some light hors d'oeuvres will be served. Here's what we've got as we're looking around the area. You can see things are moving pretty well, and this is always a good sign when we have things in good shape at this point as we're starting to add more and more traffic on the roads. 144th West Dodge, no real big issues. I wouldn't be surprised if we do start checking up a little west of here. That's been a pattern I've been noticing over the last couple of mornings as we get toward this point in the morning, and maybe a little bit of a sun glare aspect as well. Keep that in mind. This is an area I will be watching very closely, and this is 480. This is right at the Harney exit. We, remember, have that ramp closed, and as a result of that, we've been getting delays at the Leavenworth exit with people using that instead. Now, at times the last couple of mornings, we've had those delays on the ramp spill onto 480 proper and cause some problems. So first alert to that being a potential area where we get some headaches later this morning. The 680 and Dodge interchange, some delays as you're making your way along the ramps. Another spot that frequently gets things slowing down during the commute. And then, of course, I-80 just continues to be a mess in that construction zone. You're heading westbound. Quite the delays that are in place as you approach Giles. But a lot of these are delays that we see a lot here in the morning hours right around this time. So that's the good news, is there are things you should be planning for and not be caught by surprise by. But in case maybe you haven't traveled the last few days, just a reiteration that those are some spots to watch for. JFK flaring up again once again as you're heading toward I-80 northbound. So keep an eye on that. Could be a little slow for you here in the early going, but hopefully we keep that smooth sailing going on a lot of the roads.
Yeah, just those usual suspects. Jared, thank you. Well, happening today, the suspect in the death of a vulnerable adult is set to appear in court. Court records say 67-year-old Kathy Snyder was found dead in her room in February, while her caretaker, Nikki Budlong, was arrested earlier this week. Records kept by one resident claim people in that home averaged less than one meal a day. Budlong was charged with manslaughter, abuse, and theft. Her hearing is set for 9 o'clock this morning. Well, after a First Alert 6 investigation, change is coming to the way Omaha enforces occupancy certificates for new schools.
It comes after Elkhorn Public Schools opened 2 schools, despite them still being under construction. Now, both schools opened without an occupancy certificate from the city. Mayor John Ewing says he's making sure EPS stays true to promised deadlines.
One of the things the school district should be getting sometime this week is a letter from us explaining to them that we want communication throughout the process, but we want solid communication where we get an opportunity to meet with them, come out and look at the buildings and their progress 90 days before the first day of school when they're doing a new building or any major renovation.
Ewing says the district did not communicate about construction issues until after our story had aired. Still ahead, it's like the Super Bowl for pasta lovers.
The fan favorite deal that will be back soon when we come back.
Happening next week, one chain bringing back a popular value promotion.
That's right. Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl deal returns for $13.99 on Monday. Customers can mix and match up to 96 possible flavor combinations on this year's menu. That's a lot. Yeah. The pasta comes with unlimited soup or salad. I love their salad. And of course, those breadsticks. This promotion runs until November 16th. Okay, whoa.
Never-ending pasta, but it ends on November 16th.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's not so never-ending.
That's a great deal if you're a teenage college boy.
Yeah, okay. College kids everywhere just going.
Yeah,
Hey,
a good
kids,
deal.
when my son comes, guess where we're going?
That's a very good deal.
All right, speaking of good food and deals happening today, Pizza Hut rolling out a personal pan pizza just for $5 before 5 p.m.
Yeah, Crafted Flats is a thinner and crispier version of the original personal pan pizza. The new menu item is available to order with 5 different toppings or options. The chain says the $5 single-serve pizza will only be available for a limited amount of time.
I didn't expect it to look like that.
I didn't either. What?
All right, well, there you go. We just dinner and
It's like a thin pizza, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a thin crust. Okay.
we're just playing lunch and dinner for you. Good job.
Well, I'm hungry, so I'm going to go
hungry
get some
too.
food.
First alerting you at First Alert 6.
He gone. He's out. I'm hungry too. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get ready for our he left. We're going to get ready for our update into today's show. You can watch it here on streaming or over the air.
Have a great
burrito.
Well, I was up, right? Have a great start to your Wednesday.
Live from WOWT, First Alert 6 starts now.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. It is 7:26. I'm Cerise Cole.
And I'm Erin Hartley. First alert to a brand new crash this morning that Jared is tracking very closely.
This is I-80 as you're making your way eastbound just around 42nd. And you can see it's kind of a mess. You can't see real well with the way the lighting is on the camera. But over on the left-hand side, we've got these vehicles that have been involved in this crash on eastbound I-80. And there's the delays as you're getting around 42nd and approaching that area. So I expect these will continue to build. You need to stay right as you're going through this stretch to avoid that crash. Also, you can use L, which is moving along in pretty good shape at this point. You can take a look at this area and you can see that L not seeing any of those delays. So stay on the right if you're going on eastbound I-80, or use L to avoid the area entirely. We'll continue to track it as the morning goes on. Rusty.
Thanks, Jared. Out there, too, had a little bit of fog to contend with. You can see as we look at the river valley off in the distance here, a little bit of valley fog, but it's shallow. And once the sun gets a little higher, it'll start to warm us. We're at 70 right now. Get a couple more degrees on this temperature, and we'll see the humidity levels drop, and that fog will go away. But we're right around 70 in most locations at the moment, a degree or two either side of it. First Alert forecast shows as we go through the course of the day, we're going to climb into the lower 90s with a small chance of a thunder shower this afternoon. So very similar temperature-wise and humidity to what we had yesterday. Small chance of that storm to watch later on. You can see where the heat index goes. Upper 90s, really close to 100 with the feels like temperature today. Aaron?
Breaking news, we're following 2 people in the hospital after an early morning crash. Police say this happened just before 3:30 near 85th and Dodge. They say the driver did suffer minor injuries. The passenger's injuries are more serious.
All right, everybody. It is 7:28. We're back with another update for you in about 25 minutes. We'll see you then.